"Why would you ever do this?" Cadence cried to her. "I'm so sorry. I just wanted to float with you," Rice cried as well. They held each other for what seemed like a day. "You know that I love you, don't you?" Cadence asked. "Of course, I love you too," she replied. "Please don't ever try to leave me again," Cadence reasoned. "I won't," she said as the police arrived. Unfortunately for the couple, state legislation states that someone who tries to kill themselves must be committed for a week-long evaluation. So they were forced to be separate for that week. Cadence did his best to work. After all, the credit card bill had gotten ridiculous. He was too focused on the current events to realize it was beginning to get to the point that he owed more than he made. But the dude literally just had the love of his life try to kill herself and found his dead family at the bottom of a lake. I mean, give the guy a break. Finally, it was visitation day, and Cadence got to the hospital as soon as he could. Before Rice could say anything, Cadence started with, "You know, I tried to think of why you would ever want to leave our love, and I realized you were so focused on not being able to float. And it came to me, the reason you can't float too is because you keep me grounded. If we both floated, we'd never come back down, and who knows where we'd be." It was in that exact moment that Rice's eyes lit up and her feet lifted off the ground. They were happier than ever now and continued to spend money. The townspeople started to notice them floating, and they got jelly and started shit-talking the couple. They tried not to let the town get to them, but it did sometimes, and to make up for it, they bought more stuff. The house was filled to the brim. Cadence had added more additions, but what he hadn't noticed is that it was starting to lean. Rice decided to open the mail that day and casually opened the credit card bill while smiling at Cadence. Her smile disappeared. "What the hell? How is this even possible?" she asked with her mouth agape. "What do you mean?" Cadence asked. "The bill, it's tens of thousands of dollars," she exclaimed. "Well, it was fine, but when the town got jelly of us and stopped hiring me to work on their houses, we kind of fell behind," he explained. The town had in fact gotten so jelly that only people over the age of 40 would hire Cadence for work, and as statistics go, that's not enough to pay for tens of thousands of dollars on a credit card bill. Not only that, they had begun actively hiring people to change his work into something more uniform. He panicked. It finally hit him. How could they have racked up this much debt? Their happiness had gotten in the way of practicality, and they were now looking at the house being repossessed. "Why wouldn't you just tell me?" she angrily stared at him. "I didn't think it was that bad," he answered. "I just wanted you to be happy." "I am happy, and I hope you are too. But no one can be happy with this much debt," she reasoned. "I know. I'm sorry. I'll think of something," he assured her. Cadence was down in the basement for days, it seemed. All that Rice would hear is the rhythmic knocking of the hammer and the buzz of the saw. She had to go to work herself, and was even working overtime to try to deal with the debt. For those wondering, Rice worked at a local company who made toys. This didn't help with their fascination with collectibles. In fact, it only added fuel to the fire. They loved toys and collectibles, and it's the reason they racked up so much debt. Day and night, Cadence was down in the basement, and all you could hear was the rhythmic knocking of the hammer and the buzz of the saw, until one day it stopped. Rice went down to check on Cadence. Had he been remembering to eat? It honestly seemed like he hadn't even been sleeping. She would wake up to a half-empty bed and go downstairs to hear the rhythmic knocking of the hammer and the buzz of the saw. But today she didn't hear anything. She first made him some pizza, thinking it had literally been days since she'd seen him eat. She poured him a Coke and brought a plate of pizza down. When she got downstairs, she couldn't see him anywhere. "Cadence?" she called out. No response. "Hello? Sweetheart?" she continued to call out. No response. Finally, she put the pizza and Coke down. Near his tools stood a life-size collectible. On it had a note. "Try to see if your company will sell this. Maybe we could pay off our debt selling our own collectibles. Love you, Cadence." Wow. She was impressed. She gathered it up and brought it to work. It was a hit. The company loved it and agreed to give them a percentage of all the sales for making such a great toy. She was so worried about the money, she had forgotten to keep searching for Cadence. She returned to the basement and saw the pizza and Coke were still uneaten. She went upstairs to call for him, and the TV was on. On it, a commercial for the new collectible they had just sold to the company. Now that the stress of debt had lifted from her, she looked at the collectible closely. It looked a lot like Cadence. No way, she thought. It couldn't be. She continued her search for him, but he wasn't anywhere to be found. She began to get frantic and drove to work.